Hello guys and welcome to my presentation today. In this presentation, I'm going to speak to you about the security vulnerabilities in this age of AI. We live in a world today where everything is driven by technology, either in our daily lives, either in our businesses, or even in the healthcare industry. One term that is growing on a very fast pace is artificial intelligence. And regardless of the benefits that AI is bringing to us, there are some security vulnerabilities and then some privacy issues that need to be addressed. And that is what I am here to talk to you about. I hope you enjoy my presentation. The objectives for this presentation includes an introduction to cybersecurity and then artificial intelligence, briefly talk about the origin of artificial intelligence, also give some examples of artificial intelligence, and then see some of the security vulnerabilities associated with artificial intelligence, and finally discuss some possible solutions available. Let's begin by introducing what cybersecurity is. Cybersecurity basically refers to the practices of protecting systems, networks, and programs from unauthorized access or from attacks. And we cannot speak about cybersecurity without mentioning the CIA triad, which basically refers to the key characteristics of information or data. The first is confidentiality, which means that information should only be available to those who need it or to the users who need it, and then it should be prevented from people who do not need it. Next is integrity, which means information should be accurate, it should be complete, and then it should be free from tampering. And finally is availability, which means that information should be able to be accessed whenever needed by users. So let's continue by defining what AI is. AI basically stands for artificial intelligence, which is a science of making machines think and act smartly on task. Sometimes they even act so accurately and then so faster than humans. We know that whenever humans get tired in performing tasks, they tend to commit errors, but this is not the case for artificial intelligence systems. And two key concepts that comes in mind whenever AI is mentioned are big data and computing power. AI systems or machine learning models or algorithms are able to be fed on big data. They are able to feed on massive amounts of big data. And then the shocking part is that they act so fast, they perform these tasks at a very fast rate. Research has shown that machine learning algorithms or models actually act faster or they perform better when they are being fed with massive amounts of big data. Now let's briefly talk about the origin of artificial intelligence. In the year 1950, a man called Alan Turing published a paper titled Computing Machinery and then Intelligence. In this paper, he posed a very mind-pondering question that can machines think? It seems in today's world, or even for some time now, the answer to this Alan's question is yes, machines can actually think. He called the ability of machines to be able to think and then act as the imitation game. For some researchers, the name of Alan Turing can never be erased whenever artificial intelligence is mentioned. And then for some researchers as well, he is seen as the father of artificial intelligence. So let's now look at some examples or some uses of artificial intelligence, both in our daily lives and then in the field of cybersecurity. We can speak of Siri, we can speak of Alexa, we can talk of autonomous or self-driving vehicles, we can speak of chatbots or even automated customer service systems. We can also speak about the benefits of AI in cybersecurity, and this includes the use of facial recognition devices. In most organizations, before you be able to access the building or even use a system, you are required to authenticate using your face or using your image or what we call facial recognition today. And this makes it possible for attackers to be denied access to information that are not theirs. And a very typical example that I can give here is the facial recognition, feature in on our phones. So despite the numerous benefits of AI systems, there are some security vulnerabilities that these systems come with. And in this slide and then the subsequent slide, we are going to look at some of these vulnerabilities. The first vulnerability on my list is manipulation by hackers. Hackers do manipulate AI systems by either creating their own programs or by manipulating the existing system. One way to do this is by pairing polymorphic malwares to the system. Polymorphic malwares basically refers to a type of malware that constantly changes its identifiable features or its environment in order to evade or avoid detection. What happens is that they change their identity, and then by doing that, the AI system bypasses it whenever it tries to detect any threat in it. Another way is also by what we call adversarial attacks. So adversarial attacks is when a hacker is able to make some small changes to the data in order to trick or fool the model. Hackers use this technique in order to confuse a model in classification. An example of this is when a hacker makes a small change to the data, and then as such, the model thinks that, for example, an image of a tank is instead an image of a school bus. This is, a misclassification when we, talk about machine learning. It is a way they use to create, optical illusion to machine learning models. Next is data leak. This mostly happens to AI features that are purchased as add-on to other platforms. In most cases, the origin and full capabilities of the codes used to write these algorithms are unknown. This therefore raises a lot of questions, and one of them is whether the feature will be able to allow programmers to bypass the system and then steal sensitive data for their personal usage or for their profit. Anytime you use any artificial intelligence device, either on your phone or anywhere, you should note that your data is automatically collected, and then this is used to train the algorithm in a technique called neural network. Security concerns are therefore raised each and every day about the safety of users' data. So the final vulnerability I would like to speak about is the loopholes in health information systems. With the recent growth in health information technologies, patients' data are at a very higher risk of being opened or being accessible to hackers. It is a bit shocking why cyber criminals are so much interested in patients' data. The two-sided part of artificial intelligence, which are its ability to use big amounts of data, but at the same time vulnerable to security breaches, raises a lot of privacy issues in the healthcare industry. So now in this slide, I'm going to talk about some of the possible solutions that can be employed to curb these vulnerabilities. The first strategy I want to talk about is penetration testing. This is a technique where cybersecurity experts attempt to identify and exploit vulnerabilities that are found in computer systems with the motive of sealing those loopholes from attackers. The second strategy that can also be used is what we term as data encapsulation. It is an object-oriented programming concept which involves wrapping or hiding users' private data from even the users or hackers. Last but not the least, reconsideration of privacy and security practices can also help prevent these security vulnerabilities in our artificial intelligence systems or devices. This involves ensuring a working information security governance structures in organizations and also setting up an information security office if the organization is not even having some at the moment. So with all these strategies or these three possible solutions and others that I couldn't mention in this presentation, the security vulnerability issues of artificial intelligence devices can be prevented. Before I end this presentation, guys, I would like to share a little food for thought with you. Now let's consider a semi-autonomous vehicle or a semi-autonomous car which has an autopiloting functionality in it. Let's assume that this car crashes. Who will be at fault, or who is to be blamed? Is it a software developer? Is it a robot? Is it the actual driver? Or it's the manufacturer? Please feel free to leave your comment in the comment box and then let's have a discussion. I hope you enjoyed this presentation and thank you for listening.